Well, joining us now is former White House Chief of Staff and Senior Advisor at Bondi Partners, Mick Mulvaney. Mick, huge week with that debate, but the moderators of the ABC's presidential debate have been accused of being biased and fact-checking only Donald Trump, while pretty much letting Kamala Harris off the hook. Have a look at this.
You bring up Springfield, Ohio, and ABC News did reach out to the city manager there. He told us there have been no credible reports of President Trump. As you know, the FBI says overall violent crime is actually coming down in this country. But you have said, quote, you lost by a whisker, that you, quote, didn't quite make it, that you came up a little bit short. You did bring up something. You said she went to negotiate with Vladimir Putin. Vice President Harris, have you ever met Vladimir Putin?
Now, Mick, Donald Trump took this on today, speaking at a morning rally in Arizona, at his first rally since the debate, and he had this to say.
The two anchors, David Muir and Lindsay Davis, sat there and only corrected me on things where I was right, but didn't correct Kamala on Project 25 that I knew nothing about, on the bloodbath hoax that has been totally debunked, which had to do with the automobile industry.
Mick, Trump seems pretty fired up there about the way he was treated during that debate, and frankly, I think he's got a point.
Yeah, James, this is really disturbing. And listen, I know that everybody who loses a debate, and I've won some debates in my career, I've lost some debates, and you always want to sort of blame somebody when you feel like you didn't do a great job. So you sort of take this with a grain of salt, right? But keep in mind the history in this country. Back in 2016, Donna Brazile, who was a high-ranking member of the Democrat National Committee, leaked some of the questions at a CNN debate to then-candidate Hilary Clinton. So there is a history here. Go back and watch the video of the Biden-Trump debate when the CNN moderator Donna Bash was actually physically motioning to Joe Biden to look someplace else because someone else was asking him a question. So the bias in the media is real. We don't know how real it is in this particular circumstance. There have actually been some high-ranking Democrats who have called for an investigation into this in order to try and reestablish the credibility of the media, because the questions floating around right now are serious. And the video you played is incontrovertible. The ABC News had pre-planned, prepared answers to push back on Donald Trump and did not do the same thing on Kamala Harris.
And it seemed like every time that they went to Kamala Harris, they were almost saying, hey, look, here are all the things that he said that was wrong. Do you want to respond to that? It was like they were kind of aiding her. But also we've had now, in the last few hours, former Clinton advisor Mark Penn, he has called for an investigation into whether the debate was actually rigged. And there is apparently a whistleblower who is set to claim that, as you suggested in 2016 happened with Donna Brazile and Hilary Clinton, that actually the Harris camp was leaked sample questions that were very, very similar to what was actually asked on the night. What are we to make of all of this?
Well, that's what this is going to take, right? A whistleblower, somebody inside ABC News who has a little bit of integrity, who's willing to come forward and tell the truth. Look, it might not have happened. We just like to know, right? Keep in mind, Mark Penn, the gentleman who you just put on the screen there, that's about as high up in the Democrat Party as you get. That was Bill Clinton's pollster. So this is a big name in the Democrat policies, in politics. So to have that type of pushback against ABC News, again, our ABC is different than your ABC, but to have that kind of pushback is real, and I think it will impact whether or not we have additional debates.
Yeah, well, apparently now Donald Trump has ruled out another debate, saying on Truth Social that when a prize fighter loses a fight, the first words out of his mouth are, I want a rematch. And here's what he said about the possibility of this debate at this rally earlier today in Arizona.
Meanwhile, Kamala Harris showed up spewing empty rhetoric, the same old lies, meaningless platitudes, offering no plans, no policies, and no details whatsoever. Nothing.
I think, Mick, he's got another point there, is that Harris, when she went into this debate, she didn't have any sort of new stuff to kind of offer people who were undecideds and people who were doing it tough. I kind of feel like even if she won on points, in terms of the politics of it, you know, she's not going to advance the ball for herself. What do you think?
Yeah, put yourself in the shoes of an ordinary American who might still be undecided about this race. What are the important issues to you? We know that from the polling. And the important issues are the economy and, to a lesser extent, immigration and abortion. But certainly the economy is the biggest issue here right now. The first question from the ABC moderators was about the economy, and Kamala Harris launched into a memorized 3-minute sort of biographical, I was born in a town, I was raised a middle-class kid, et cetera, and didn't speak to the issue of the economy. So if you're in the media, you might say, oh, wow, that was a great answer. Doesn't she look presidential, et cetera, et cetera. But if you're a person who's actually watching to try and see what she stands for, that you come away really empty. Keep in mind, there was some polling data going into this debate that said that as many as 30% of the people that were considering voting for Kamala Harris did not know enough about her yet to make a final decision on that. I don't think those people learned very much on the debate this week.
No, and what did you make, Mick, of the way that she kind of spent the whole debate pulling faces, mugging for the camera, trying to be really sort of theatrical during the debate? It seemed very confected and contrived to me. Do you think this was a deliberate strategy going in, and do you think it worked?
You know, James, it's fascinating you asked that question because I didn't notice it. Okay, I did that. That's not something that registered with me. And when I asked my wife about it the next day, she said she picked up on all of that and really didn't like it. It's fascinating to see what different people pick up. I don't know, again, what's going to speak to undecided voters. I don't think that they moved towards her in this particular race. Nobody really did great, and neither of them did really, really poorly. I think Donald Trump wishes he could have done a little better. You know, she probably should have talked about policies better, but no one lost the race, and certainly no one won the race at this debate last week. But it was fascinating to watch those little things and then see what different people pick up on, because my guess is you ask 100 different people 100 about their opinions about this debate, and you get 100 different answers as to what they saw.
Well, I'll tell you, Mick, one thing that everybody picked up on was the comments about Haitian migrants in Springfield, Ohio, abducting people's pets and eating them. Have a look at this.
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. And this is what's happening in our country, and it's a shame.
Mick, the thing that strikes me about this is that, kind of as goofy as that is, and they're going to try and fact check this away and say he's completely wrong, it feels like it's also given people a bit of a space where they can talk about the disruption of mass migration into a lot of communities in kind of a sort of a weird and almost fun way when you look at all the memes and videos going around on the internet. Do you think that this has weirdly kind of given the Trump campaign a bit of energy?
You know, J.D. Vance did an interview, I think, earlier today in this country, and he said, look, nobody in the mainstream media wanted to pay attention to what was happening with immigration in Ohio until Donald Trump started talking about people eating their cats. Now, folks are actually paying attention to it. By the way, James, I think that's part of the genius of Donald Trump. That's one of the reasons he speaks in these exaggerated sort of messages. So he gets people to pay attention, even though they think they're paying attention to things that he's got wrong. But right now in this country, there's a discussion about immigration in middle America that we didn't have 5 or 6 days ago. So you can ask yourself, did Donald Trump do something wrong, or did he do something right? The polling will show us. We won't know for the next couple of days the polling results from after the debate, but my guess is there'll be no major changes from before the debate.
Mick Mulvaney, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, James.